Hey everybody, welcome back to Rook's Recipes. It's been a while, lots of things have happened. It's still 2020, but not for much longer. So first I want to show you that I have new swag. This is my custom-made apron that Renee had made for me with a custom sewn logo on it. And that makes up for the fact that we're inside tonight. I can't get my giant Rook's Recipes banner up here in the kitchen. So this is just as good. So welcome to our kitchen. It's cold outside. It's holiday time, Christmas time, and we're gonna make some comfort food tonight that is a family favorite. It's called Amatriciana. It's an Italian country pasta sauce. First time I ever had it, my sister made it for me when she was living up in Long Island 20 plus years ago. And in our cookbook, the new basics that we've been using for 20 years or more, there's a great recipe for it. And we've modified it over the years. It calls for Canadian bacon, we put in real bacon or regular bacon. It calls for like a half a pound of bacon, we put in 6 pounds of bacon, things like that, right? So let me show you what is gonna go into this recipe. It's a very simple recipe, and it kind of starts with tomatoes. We've got basically 2 large cans of tomatoes and a medium-sized can of tomatoes.
Those are whole tomatoes, and that's
these are whole tomatoes. They actually come from Italy. These are diced tomatoes, but we've tried it with 3 cans. 3 cans is a little too much. We think 2 cans is not quite enough, so it's 2.5 basically. The other main ingredient are onions. 3 large onions. I'm gonna chop them up. I won't bore you with all of that. And then bacon to taste, okay? This is thick sliced bacon from Costco, but you can use any kind of bacon you want, and depending on your risk profile for fatty foods, you can use a little bit or you can use a lot like we do. Minor ingredients, garlic, salt, a cup of wine, and salt and pepper to taste. It's very simple. And the first thing we're gonna do is get these onions chopped up and get them simmering in oil over in this Dutch oven. So I make it in a Dutch oven because then you don't have worries about splatter. You can make it in a smaller pan, but that's too much talking. So we'll do it in this Dutch oven. And so, all right, I'll see you in a little while. So we use 3 large onions. And as you can, I have big hands, but
sweet onions too.
And we use sweet onions, good point. You can use yellow onions, you can blah, 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 but we use sweet onions, and it's a coarse chop, okay? So I'm going like that. That's about 3/4 of an inch. I'm gonna try not to cut myself. And another 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so then I take those 2 big slices like that, and I chop them like 3 times across at most. You could even do 2. Now I'm gonna come back this other way, I'm gonna do 2. 1, 2, and that's done. Goes into this dish, right? Okay? It's as simple as that. Now I take this bottom one, and there's a really tight, nasty concentration of, so I cut like that, and then I cut like that, and then finally on this side. So that's what I don't use. It's very little. And then I throw that away. And then I just finish these up real quick. Boom, boom. See? You can have onion pieces that size in this. This is gonna cook. This is gonna cook for 45 minutes. So these onion pieces are going to cook down small and soft. Boom. Okay. So that's what 3 large onions look like, chopped very coarsely. I will say that the recipe calls for 4 onions. We use 3 because we buy big onions. So, I mean, if you got little onions, that they're the size of like that, you might need 6. So, it depends on the size of the onions you have. Okay, now we're gonna start on the bacon. All right, so we've already cut up a little bit of leftover bacon that we had in the refrigerator, and this is bacon that we just opened. The bacon needs to be cut in basically squares. This is also something you can do to taste, but I tend to cut them about 1 inch across. This is thick cut bacon, so yeah, I say 1 inch, 1.25 inches. You certainly want them to be bite size. And of course, just like everything else, they'll cook down and they'll get smaller. So I would say don't use less than 8 ounces of bacon, and a pound will really tickle your bacon fancy and probably peg your bacon meter, okay? So now the first thing that happens is this bacon goes in that pan, okay? Now, the recipe says if you're using Canadian bacon, what do you know about Canadian bacon? It's already cooked. So the recipe says cook the onions first. If you're using raw bacon, you have to cook the bacon first, okay? If you use a smoked meat that's already cooked, it's different than if you use a raw meat, like bacon. Okay, over here, we say let's go over to the bozo drum. There's really not that much to see. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to cook this bacon until it's pretty crisp. And there's a lot of bacon juice in here. I'll show you that. And I'm going to get out all the bacon grease. Almost all of it. So.
Yeah, leave some.
Renee wants me to leave some. I will. What do you think, Sherlock? Hey. Do you like spaghetti? Do you like biscotti? Hey. He's ignoring me.
Yeah.
So this is the way the bacon looks. I would consider this well done. As I said, it's going to sit in the tomato sauce for 45 minutes, so you want it to be... all right, so I'm just going to get out most of the bacon.
Close the cabinet.
I'm going to close the cabinet. And then, and only then, am I going to carefully snuff out this hot bacon.
Grease.
I always felt like if you say an adjective twice, it really is a very poor and weak way to use words. Probably my 5th grade teacher, Mr. Bastians, taught me that. But to say things like really, really, or this bacon grease is, this hot bacon grease, it's pretty weak use of the language. All right, Renee, do you think that's enough bacon to remain?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'll just take a little bit more
take
out.
Some more.
Just a little bit more out. Now,
because you're not Southern enough.
after all this time, I'm still not Southern enough. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the bacon out.
Close the cabinet.
The next thing I'm going to do is close the cabinet. Then I'm going to take the bacon out, okay? And it's just going to sit happily in this thing. Now, I might have mentioned that Amatriciana is a very old, ancient, really Italian, like a Tuscany dish, a comfort food. It was, they used different parts of the pork. I'm sure they weren't too expensive cuts of meat, and tomatoes, which they grew in their gardens. So it's a very old, traditional, simple Italian dish. Okay, so now we're going to get that fire going again, and in go the onions. Remember all these onions we cut up? They're going in here. And we're going to cook these onions for about 5 minutes, just till they're a little bit soft. Again, all this stuff is going to cook for 45 minutes once we get the onions softened. And there is some raw garlic. There is some raw garlic that will go in as well. This is about, I would consider this like 3 big cloves of garlic. It's actually several small, but it's about 3 big cloves.
That's a lot of garlic.
You can't overdo it. You can't overdo it. We bought this, hey, over here, Ray. We bought this thing of garlic about 3 weeks ago. That's what we got left. The dregs. All right. All right, so I'm going to let these soften. The heat has to come up, and I'll see you in about 5 minutes. Okay, so the onions are definitely soft. They've been cooking, and by the way, the smell of onions and garlic and bacon grease is, okay, amazing. So now all the rest of the ingredients are going to go in now, okay? These are wonderful plum tomatoes in a can. I've told you many times that there are some tremendous things that come in a can, and they're perfectly natural and perfectly good for you. Now, the recipe says drain them, okay? We're not draining them because we've learned that we like a little bit of a saucier sauce, and that's what you'll get. So there's the 2 big cans of Italian imported Romas, and then the 1/2 can or 15-ounce can of diced tomatoes just to...
We did drain that one.
Thank you. We did drain this one because...
That was just water.
That one's just water. As you saw, what comes out of these Italian tomato cans is more like a tomato paste. That's why we don't drain them. So we stir those in. Now, you might notice that these tomatoes are big, chunky. You can do this. You may not have to do that, but we do it. We just take a kitchen shears and we cut all the tomatoes that we can see basically in half. But with all the cooking that's going to happen, they'll probably fall apart anyway, so you might not need to do this. I wouldn't worry about it too much. It's just something that we've decided to do. And so they're pretty much okay. Now, the rest of the ingredients, very simple. We need 3/4 cup of red wine.
Therefore, we use a cup.
Therefore, we use a cup. We put the bacon back in, right? Of course. We put in about 2 teaspoons of sugar. It's probably enough. And salt and pepper to taste. Oh, you know, the recipe calls for a pinch of red pepper flakes, just a tiny bit of heat.
Are you sure about that?
I think so. We could, no? Maybe that's
just
Raphael.
You. Yes.
Maybe that's Raphael, right?
That's just you learning to put stuff in hot and everything.
That's just me. That's just me. All right, a little salt, not too much, but okay. Now, let me just double check my recipe, make sure I haven't forgotten anything. Oh, I got this. So, I'm going to do this for the first and only time. I'm going to put this roasted garlic in there. I personally roasted this garlic earlier. I'll show you a picture. And I guess it's my point of view that you can't ruin anything by putting in roasted garlic because it is so mellow. The taste is so mellow but so pungent and smoky, and so that's what we're going to do. So this has to come to a boil, and then we're going to turn it down to a simmer, and it's going to cook for 45 minutes. That's a long time. What's going to happen during those 45 minutes is all these things, every bit of food in here, these tomatoes, these onions, they're going to, well, the bacon won't break down because it's meat, but the vegetables will break down, and they will give off all their goodness, and it will all mingle together and create an incredible combination of flavors into a single amazing flavor. That's what's going to happen. See you in 45 minutes. So it's been about 45, 50 minutes. I want to show you how this looks now. We've been stirring it every, 6, 7, 8 minutes, whatever. So here's how it looks. It's very simply thickening. And the tomatoes are breaking down, and everything is kind of congealing into this beautiful sauce. And it's kind of up to you how long you cook it and how thick it becomes. Since we put the juice from the Roma tomatoes in here, it's a little bit more, liquidy than it can be if you don't do that. But that's a kind of a personal taste thing. So you could cook it longer and cook more of the water out of it, or you could just leave it like this. We're gonna give this away to family and friends for Christmas. So we're gonna keep it kind of liquidy like this. And in about 5 minutes, we're gonna taste it. Okay, it's been an hour since we started the simmer, And Renee, why don't you just come in and just show the folks how thick this has become. You can see how the onions are like, you know, caramelized and just, so this is a beautifully thick thing. And how much of the juice from the tomatoes you put in will affect how long you have to cook it. But it's done and it's amazing. And we're going to just, because here, we serve this over a pound of pasta. So grab a pound of your favorite pasta. It could be angel hair, linguine, spaghetti, whatever you like. But we're not going to do that tonight because we're going to give this away to our neighbors and our friends. So we're just going to taste it. We're going to put a little bit in here. It's going to be super hot. We're going to sprinkle a little of Parmesan cheese on it. If you're like me and you sort of like spicy things, you can put a little hot sauce in there. Wouldn't kill you. And I'm going to turn this off. Woo-hoo. We're gonna package a whole one of these things for Renee's mom and dad. Gonna be good. All right, so here's the tasting. Pasta Amatriciana. It's very hot.
It's gonna fry your mouth.
I may have to pause to keep from frying my mouth. Oh, to keep from frying my mouth. Look at that. Oh, onion, tomato, bacon, cheese, red wine. Here we go. It's so delicious. What a wonderful combination of simple flavors. I love the way the Southern Italians combine a small number of very simple things into an incredible panoply of bursting flavor. You must make this. It's simple, it's inexpensive. It takes about an hour and 20 minutes to make, and that includes 45 minutes where you can sit down, let it simmer, sip a glass of wine. It's tremendous. And it's a great comfort food. It's a great winter food. We love you. Thank you for watching. See you next time.